All right, ladies and gentlemen, of course, the breaking news today that to me is a bombshell, I do believe, and that's the fact that James Comey, the director of the FBI, sent a letter to Congress saying that through an unrelated matter or case, they've discovered more emails related to the Clinton email investigation, and now they are looking through those emails to see if there was anything classified on those emails. So in effect, they've extended or reopened, or however you want to phrase, the Clinton email investigation. So this comes at a very inopportune time for Hillary Clinton, that's for sure. And the fact that James Comey made it a point to write a letter to Congress certainly speaks to the importance of this as well. Joining us now to talk about all of that and more is Michael Reagan, son of President Ronald Reagan, of course, political commentator and author of Lessons My Father Taught Me, The Strength, Integrity, and Faith of Ronald Reagan. And let me just add this, folks. If you're looking for a great holiday gift for your son, your daughter, your mother, your father, anybody, pick up Lessons My Father Taught Me, because it's a must-read for everyone in this holiday season especially. Michael, welcome, and of course at Reagan World is your Twitter handle. And to this point with the FBI, you put a link on your Twitter account to something not too distant from this whole Comey thing.
Yeah, you know, what's really interesting when you watch this whole thing, and my op-ed piece this week talks about all the bad things about Donald Trump, but the reality is he's not a criminal. And yet this criminal investigation goes on and on and on and on and on. You know, I lived through the Nixon years. I saw a president have to step down from being the president of the United States of America. The last thing I need to see is another president elected who is being investigated and then is found to have done something terribly wrong, committed a hell of a crime, and again have to step down as president of the United States of America. Country better wake up to what's going on here. And as I said, Donald Trump may be a lot of things, and you'd be absolutely right to think about Donald Trump what you think of Donald Trump. One thing he is not a criminal. Yeah,
and this could, I mean, conceivably, certainly, haunt her should she win the election, and that's something no doubt Donald Trump is going to harp on the rest of the way. God willing, from your lips to his ears. I mean, the last thing he needs to be talking about is suing anybody. The last thing he needs to be talking about is everything's rigged. He needs to be talking about Hillary Clinton, the emails. He needs to be talking about the economy. He needs to be talking about ISIS. He needs to be talking about those things that we really care about, and get off of the suits, get off of, you know, all these other things he talks about, the peripheral programs he talks about. And if he gets off of that, he may have a shot on November 8th. If he doesn't, he has no shot. Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let's move on. I saw a report today, and I had Boris Epshteyn, one of Donald Trump's chief campaign spokesmen, on the noon show today, and he told me on and off the air that they're very confident, and he thinks they're going to win Iowa, win Florida, win North Carolina, win Maine, win Colorado quite possibly, and he mapped out the whole scenario for getting the needed electoral votes, and that they're doing very well. But I saw a report, and I don't know what to believe anymore. Is it possible that 60% of the early voters in Iowa have voted Clinton?
Yeah, what you need to believe is, you get down to this crunch time, is don't believe any of the surrogates. Don't believe a word they tell you, because no matter what's going on, they're going to tell you they're going to win. I mean, Hillary's going to tell you she's going to win. Trump's people are going to tell you they're going to win. That's what's going on right now. What you need to do is look where they're spending time. And they spend time in those states they believe they need to shore up, or states they believe are toss-ups and they want to be able to win. So look where they land, not what they say.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I know Trump today, Iowa, New Hampshire, Maine, and one other place. As a matter of fact, 4 stops. Let me talk to you about a 70-year-old guy like Donald Trump. I mean, he is flying all up and down around the country. Granted, you know, not out west much, not the far west, but nonetheless, stop after stop, day after day. At 70 years old, I mean, this isn't talked about a lot. I did talk about it with Boris in the other show. I mean, he is showing a heck of a stamina, no?
Yeah, no, he's showing a heck of a stamina. He's in good shape, as is shown by him being able to do all of that. But, you know, when you campaign, you learn where to nap, and you can't nap where you can't. I remember, you know, back in 1980, from October 6th to November 3rd, I was on 66 airplane rides in 19 states for my father before I finally got back to California. My sister was doing the same thing. My dad was doing the same thing, because that's what it takes to go out there and absolutely win. You need to meet and greet and talk to these people, but there's a way you do it, and you learn how to catnap. I mean, they used to joke with me, say I could sleep, you know, sleep anywhere. I could sleep standing on my head. You find your times, you find your areas to do that. He certainly has done that.
Talking about election fraud, something I mentioned earlier, there's stories out all over, from Philadelphia, from Chicago, and this is ABC locally there and CBS locally there, putting the names down. They've done investigations into the voter rolls, and they're naming the dead people who have been dead since the 90s and have voted 9 times since then. So I guess when the media tells us there have been 31 cases of out of 1 billion votes of voter fraud, I guess they must be talking about these and there are no other ones.
Yeah, but are they voting Democrat or Republican? That's the important issue. Okay, you know what I mean? They might have died, saw what the taxes are going to be, the death taxes, and changed their vote to Republican in the grave. You know, what happens when you talk about that too much is you start stopping people from showing up. If that's your lead story, and Donald Trump's made that his lead story a lot too much, is you really suppress your own vote. You talk about your vote being suppressed by Hillary, but in reality, you are suppressing your own vote because you're telling your voters, you know, it doesn't matter if you show up. They're going to cheat and they're going to steal the election from me. What you need to do is just go out and win that election absolutely outright and do it. We talked about the same thing back when my father was running back in 1980. You go back as far as you can. You're going to find people talking about rigged elections and what have you, and the rigged elections that have been Chicago and so on and so forth. But you don't want to suppress your own vote, make your own people feel on election day their vote doesn't count. I would get off that mantra and stick on Hillary, the emails, the economy, and Obamacare.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And let's talk, well, the economy, he's winning in the polls on economy. Whenever in the debates, when they brought the economy up and the trade agreements and jobs, he rocked it over her, and most people agreed with that as well. But let's talk a little bit about some of the issues you made, the emails. Is there too much? In other words, and I think it was John Heilman who wrote this or said this today or yesterday, that there's so much, and it's so much of it is kind of inside baseball, that the public is just, they're overwhelmed by all the things in the emails and they can't keep up. You agree or not?
Oh, yeah, I agree. There's so many emails out there. And remember, it took how many dumps before, you know, the news cycle started to catch up with them, and how many more dumps before Comey woke up and smelled the coffee. And of course, Donald has not allowed the media to really follow the emails, because he's been talking about, I'm going to sue the women, you know, if I win or lose, I'm going to do this. And he keeps on bringing those issues up, which allow the media to talk about sex and that tape on the bus, than talk about what they need to be talking about, which is Hillary and the emails. So a lot of it's Donald Trump's fault for not allowing the media to cover her. Some days he should just shut up.
No, I agree. But, you know, when O'Reilly had him on yesterday, and I know they played sound bites out of it, I didn't see the interview, but I'm sure it wasn't Donald Trump who said, hey, Bill, I want to talk about those women. I'm sure, you know, he was asked about it. When he brings it up in interviews, it's not him bringing it up. He's being asked about it. Oh, but don't get me wrong. I agree with you. He's brought up horrifically, you know, inappropriate things at these rallies. And don't forget, at the debate, Michael, he never mentioned the email leak on the Catholic issue. That only came up at the dinner, which he shouldn't have brought it up at the dinner. And basically, there's no commercials running exposing that. So 90% of the American public, many of whom would be offended, have no clue.
Yeah, and what I said a long time ago in a tweet, and I think I might have retweeted it here about a week ago, you know, Donald Trump needs to stop looking for applause and start looking for votes.
That's a good line. I like that line, yeah.
And I think it's because he's been an entertainer for so long that he enjoys the applause and he thinks that turns to votes. And what he's got to do is say, how do I turn these 20,000 people showing up at my event in Florida? How do I get them to the polls tomorrow to do the early voting? How do I do those kinds of things? That's what he should be paying
Absolutely.
attention to. And again, I mean, shame on O'Reilly, shame on these people that bringing that issue up. And the best thing for Donald Trump to do is sit there and say, "Hey, Bill,
I don't want to talk about it anymore. I've done it already.
I've said it. I'm sorry. Let's go to a real issue."
And again, I didn't see the interview yesterday, so I can only imagine he brought it up, because I can't imagine Donald did, but you never know. Michael, the book, folks, Lessons My Father Taught Me, and check out at Reagan World on Twitter. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Now, earlier today on my noon show, noon Eastern Time, America Talks Live, I hope you'll watch it every day, I had the pleasure of speaking with Boris Epshteyn, Republican political strategist and senior advisor for the Trump campaign. That is coming up next, right here. Don't go anywhere.